What's going on, everybody? I'm Austin Ariel. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the channel as well. Today I have a car that's a strange anomaly in the car world today, and is brought to you by one of the manufacturers that people don't look to the most sometimes for a performance car. I'm talking about Hyundai, and I'm talking about the Elantra N-Line. This is a cool car, and the reason why I'm bringing this car to your attention is because this car has one of the rarest options of any new car today. I'm talking about a manual transmission. This car is equipped with a 6-speed manual transmission. So fun. It is the perfect driver's car for somebody who just wants to be zippy, get good fuel economy, have fun without spending a ton of money. This one stickers at about 25 grand, $25,000, guys. Let's see what you get with the 2021 Hyundai Elantra N-Line. So without further ado, let's get to it. Before we get to the review, first I want to say thank you guys so much, because I have finally hit 1,000 subscribers. It's one of my biggest goals that I've had for this channel since I started it. It is a huge goal. I have finally reached it, and I'm very appreciative of you guys. Secondly, I want to apologize for any wind, because it is very windy here in Smyrna, Georgia, but I have a very small window to get with this car. This car just got into the showroom, and this is the only one they have here at Ed Voil's Hyundai Genesis here in Smyrna, Georgia. So again, big thank you to them, Reid, Keith. They treat me like royalty every time I come here. So big thank you to them. So in saying that, I am bracing the cold and the wind to show you guys this car, to thank you guys for your support on this channel. And again, if you do want to support the channel, give this video a thumbs up, but also hit that subscribe button and the bell in the upper right hand corner. That way you get an alert every time I release a video. So without further ado, finally, let's get to the car. So let's talk about the front end of the Elantra N-Line. Now, I know you guys have seen my Elantra Limited video. If you haven't, the link to that's going to be in the description below. But let's talk about everything that's going on in the front, right? So for one, you've got all these black accents with an indicator that's actually hidden in here because it's got a black housing. I think that's awesome. I think it's one of my favorite design cues on the Elantra, no doubt. In addition to that, you do have the N-Line badge. This is an N-Line. They do have a more dedicated N model coming very soon to their lineup, but this is going to bridge that gap if you want a very fun car without too much power, but also not sluggish either. Now down here, you've got this like 3-strake kind of gloss black plastic piece here. It's kind of interesting in design. It definitely goes with their more angular concept here, but I know that's going to be a very controversial aspect of the car. I think it looks good just because this car just looks absolutely insane from the get-go. So I just think that just adds to it, but I'm a fan. Over here, you do have air ducts, and yes, they are functional. So that's also really nice. So if you are doing spirited driving or anything of that nature, not only do you have that aerodynamic effect for fuel economy, but it can also help channel air to the wheel well. That way you can help cool your brakes if you're going fast. Now, back to the headlight unit. These are going to be the same LED running lights that you found on the Limited model and on most Elantra models. You do have a halogen headlight. It is not going to be an LED headlight. That doesn't bother me. I mean, it's still a projector beam, so you'll still have plenty of illumination. But one thing I do want to point out is the brake in the hood from the grille carries into the headlight. The LED running lights are broken up here in the middle. And I think that's a super nice attention to detail on this car. So very well done, Hyundai. Now, getting to the middle area of this, you're going to notice there's a lot of open air here. Or not area, but that's to channel air to this turbo motor. Okay, I'm going to go over the specs of that in a little bit. Underneath the bumper here, it's actually open. You have these open inlays there, so you can channel more air into the motor. So that's actually really cool that they've actually added that design. So you got the Hyundai badge huge up here, and then you still have the same angular shape up front and on the hood, so nothing too crazy there. Overall, I think it's a really crazy design, but in all the best ways. In a world where cars are getting a little bland and vanilla, Hyundai's like, you know what, let's add some Cajun seasoning to that. They did it really well. Good job, Hyundai. So let's talk about the wheel and tire setup on the Elantra N-Line. So for one, let's talk about the tire, because this is actually interesting. It is wrapped in a Goodyear F1 summer tire, and it's funny because on the window sticker, it says that the tire is summer only, not rated for cold weather. I find that super cool. Obviously, you gotta warm up the tires if you're gonna do any spirited driving, but I get why they put that. Anyways, it is gonna be an 18-inch wheel. It is going to be wrapped in a 235 tire with a 40 series sidewall, so it can give you a little bit of road comfort there without sacrificing too much on performance. Now, the design of the wheel, very similar to other Hyundai models and even some Genesis models, kind of a turbine shape here. I don't know if you literally call this a 5-spoke wheel or a 10-spoke technically, because it's got these little dividers in the strakes. Either way, I think it's a really handsome look and just goes with the angular design. And I love the center cap, how it's supposed to mimic those center lugs that you'd find on exotics like a Porsche 911 GT3, a few Lamborghinis. It's really cool, and I love the textured look on the outside. So overall, I think it goes really well with the design of the car. Good job, Hyundai. I really wanted to show this angle of the car because angles. Look at all the angles going on here. This whole car is one giant trigonometry equation. It's amazing. I love how crazy this design is. It's nothing like anybody else. It's very Hyundai-ish, and that's a good thing now. Look at this. You've got angle, 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 angle. So many lines on this car. Some would say it looks busy, but I think the absolute fact that it's busy makes it work so well for this car. And I know that's so weird to say for a lot of people, but I just think in a world of bland cars, Hyundai's going crazy, and I think it's paying off for them. I think this is a really handsome design. I love everything. It just looks flush, and it continues all the way back into the rear of the car. Super cool. But on the side note, you do have these side skirts here on this Elantra N-Line. They're gloss black. I think it looks really nice. It's a good complement to the car itself. And then the handles, they're going to be flush, no exposed keyhole. Of course, you just pop this plastic piece off and boom, you got a keyhole there. And then back here, you got these little textured areas here. Some people on performance cars say they break up turbulence and things like that. I'm no scientist. I'm not going to try to lie or anything. It's a design cue that I really like. If it has aerodynamic function, perfect. C'est la vie. We're at the back of the Elantra N-Line, and the first thing I want to note is that you don't know that this is an N-Line. There's no N-Line badging on the back, just Elantra, and of course the Hyundai symbol, but just Elantra all the way across. And I love the font. I don't know what font this is, but it's very futuristic and I really like it. Back here you do have a gloss black spoiler. It is almost like a duckbill shape, but it's really flush with the body lines and it looks really handsome. You do have the Hyundai badge here, and the trunk release button is integrated really well into this gloss black area here, so you can press that, releases it, really nice. You do have the same LED tail light that you get on the Elantra Limited model. So yes, this is a full light bar. Full light bar. Let me show you what I mean. Look at that. Full light bar with this little T shape on the outside. Just looks super cool, honestly. I think it's one of the best lighting on the back of any car in today's market, economy or luxury. I just think it's a super cool look. So another design cue, you do have this dual tip exhaust on the right hand side of the car. Looks really good. You do have this reflector piece that's right above this gloss black, and then in between this gloss black area of the bumper, so it kind of breaks it up, but I know it's for regulation. But overall, a handsome look. You do have an aggressive rear valence here too, a little bit too aggressive in my opinion for a car like this, but I think from an aesthetic standpoint looks really nice. Just don't know functionality wise if it would be tried and true. And then another thing I want to point out, look at that shark fin antenna. So happy they did that. Just looks really clean on the car. Let's get to the inside. So I've done a pretty thorough walkthrough on the interior on the limited model of the Elantra, but let's take a look on this one, which is the N-Line. So you do have an 8-inch touchscreen here. You do have physical buttons on the side, But overall, it's a really handsome screen. I have no issues with it at all. It's very responsive. You've got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, which is really nice. And then on top of that, you see you have different widgets here. But I do like the font. I like the color. It's really nice, modern, really, really cool. I do like that there's texture on the outside of the buttons. Just gives it nice attention to detail. You do have a hazard button here. And then my favorite part of this interior are these gauges. Look at this. Your tach on the left-hand side. Look at that red line area, checkered flag. And then you have digital output for the actual temperature there. And then look at the speedometer, goes up to 160. Unsure of what the true top speed of this car is, but it's really cool. It's a really race-inspired tach. And then you have a digital display on the right-hand side. Everybody's asking about this left-hand side on the Elantra, and this is actually going to be reserved for the N model. That is what I've been told. And then over on the door card, very similar to the Limited model, but I will make note, you do have this different trim here, and honestly feels like a soft fabric. Not really plasticky, but it feels really nice. It's actually pretty soft, and I do like the colors, like this dark charcoal gray. And then of course the speaker grills, everybody knows I'm a fan of that. And then down here, you know, the handles on the bottom left hand side, and then you do have hard plastic over here on the door card. But talk about materials, the dash itself, look at the materials, this textured plastic. Usually I'm not all about these plastic fantastic interiors, but this actually looks really handsome. I'm unsure what specific material it is. It's very soft, but the texture feels nice. But of course you are going to see these hard plastics here on the dash. It's an economy car, guys. You should expect that. It feels solid still. I'm not going to knock it, but just make note of that if you are looking at this car. And then you do have push button start on this thing as well, which is really nice. Dual zone climate controls here. You do have heated front seats, and then your standard climate controls here. But let's talk about the big player here. Look at this. 6-speed manual transmission with a reverse lockout. So yes, you do have to push up on this to actually get it in reverse. So this is really nice, and I love the shape of the shift knob. It's really cool, kind of race inspired, which is nice. Leather wrapped. You do have these red accents, which just give it a sportier look. Leather shift boot with the red stitching looks really nice. I will say, I wish this chrome was like a dark chrome versus a bright chrome. I feel like it would have made it look a little less cheap, if I'm being honest, but it's not a deal breaker for me. You do have, of course, the backup camera with the camera button back there, and then you do have a wireless charging pad right here, which is really neat. Data transfer USB, fast charge USB, and then a 12-volt power outlet, which is cool. And then the steering wheel itself, you have this perforated leather with this beautiful red stitching. I am very shocked that they did not do a flat bottom steering wheel, but you'll probably see that in an N model. You do have the N badging here for the N-Line, and then of course your Bluetooth controls. You have your controls here for not only the cruise control, but of course your lane safety here. And then outside of that, your controls for the wiper stalks and the headlight stalks are both going to be textured on the outside with gloss black for the main area of the stalk. Oh well. Over here on the side, you do have your lane safety features there for your lane departure warning, traction control, and then illumination. So nothing too crazy there. And then you do have a standard frameless mirror. It is not an auto dimming mirror. I'm sure that is an option, but you do have the lever on the back here to switch between dim and not dim. And then of course, here are your lights for the map lights. And then you do see a button for a sunroof because you do have a standard side sunroof. So, and then this model does have the black headliner. I've actually seen some people comment saying that is actually sort of important for them. So the seats themselves, they're actually heavily bolstered. They do have this texture here, kind of a hexagon trim. Please don't know it's a hexagon, not an octagon. Math wasn't my strongest subject. And badging on the back of the seat. And then a leatherette wrapped headrest, which I think is interesting. You do have a leatherette on the outboard of the seat with contrast red stitching. The passenger seat is going to be a manual, but the driver's seat here that I'm in is actually going to be a power adjustable seat, which is nice. And then of course you do have your trunk and your gas release. And then underneath here, you do have your sport pedals, which the distance between the gas and the brake it's not too far, but I don't expect anybody heel towing in this car anytime soon. And then of course the clutch pedal there, because this is a 6-speed manual transmission, and then an aluminum dead pedal there, which is really, really nice. When you're in the back, you're not going to see anything really interesting. There's no storage pockets on the seat backs. This one does not have the rear vents or any rear charging, but the seats do continue that same textured trim here, and there is leatherette on the outboard with the contrast red stitching. As far as the door card itself, pretty standard. You see you got your door lock, and not door lock, but your window switch and the storage pocket here, and then you do have a storage pocket there. Good for maybe a small can of Coke or something, maybe a small snack, but outside of that, nothing crazy. When you look inside the trunk, there's really nothing interesting, so I'll make it quick. The rear seats do fold down. You've got tabs on each side, and then this one does have the carpet floor mats, which actually are branded N-Line, which I think is really neat. And then underneath this all, you pull this up and you do have your compact spare tires, so it's really nice to see a car company offering that. But outside of that, nothing worth noting. Ooh. Got to get situated in here. All right, so we are driving the Elantra N-Line 6-speed manual. So if I'm not mistaken, there's a dual clutch option if you want an automated transmission. But this is their first one that they got here, and it also happens to be manual. And I'm a fan of manuals. So naturally, I was over the moon when Reid contacted me and he was like, hey, we got one of these in. And they actually pulled it out of the showroom for me, so I feel really special doing this video. So thank you to Reid and everybody at Ed Voiles Hyundai. I always feel like royalty when I'm there. I really do. So let's talk Elantra N-Line. So this car has a 1.6 turbo 4-cylinder, and on regular gas, not premium, the output is 201 horsepower, 195 foot-pounds of torque. For a car this size, that's a pretty fun number. I'm gonna say fun because if I say a large number, people are gonna be like, you're a joke. Just being honest. But in saying that, first impressions are this steering wheel is actually very thick, which is great because it means it's made for performance in a sense. Take that with a grain of salt. But also, the car itself, it is quiet, but this suspension, definitely on the firmer side. The transmission is very easy, and the clutch is very light. I will say, I really do wish there was a little bit more clutch feel, but it's not too bad to where you don't feel anything at all. Get it on the road here. So this is a fun car. This is a car that parents are going to look at for their son or daughter as a first car if they want something fun with a manual. This car is exactly that. It's nothing more, nothing less. It's actually pretty well optioned considering, and this thing is only $25,000. So as a fun car, even if you're an adult looking at this thing, like, you can have some real fun. The exhaust sounds pretty good. I think they kept it mildly quiet on purpose, just because obviously people who get a car like this, they'll want to drive the hell out of it, naturally. But I gotta say, visibility is obviously pretty good. With the fastback shape of the car, you do lose a little bit on the back window, but to me it's not drastic to where it's a safety concern, obviously. Dang, this thing's so fun. Yeah, the suspension's actually pretty firm, and the steering is direct. The steering is mildly heavy, heavier than I thought it would be. Let me just preface saying that. But it is direct enough to where you know exactly where the car is going to be. The steering, like I said, is almost perfectly weighted, and because the steering wheel is so thick, like it inspires confidence when you drive it. It really does. I'm actually gonna turn on the fan a little bit, get some heat going in here because I haven't so far. But yeah, I mean, this thing really does try to induce confidence in you, which is nice. You know, it's kind of what you want in a car like this. So I'm actually very happy with that. And the suspension itself gives you a lot of direct road feel, which is also something that you want in a car like this. The shifter feels really at home. People who are Audi fans, you're gonna recognize this shift knob. It's shaped almost identical to Audi shift knobs, just being honest. I will say the throw is pretty short. It's short enough for a car like this. If you're looking at like a Shelby GT 350 or 500 or something like that, I know the new 500 doesn't come in a manual. I'm talking about even older ones. You would look at like a shorter throw, but for a car like this, the throw is the perfect amount. And man, that torque just like puts you back. It's so fun. Oh, that's so fun. I like it because it sneaks up on you, you know? It really does. And the fact that this car is tuned for regular gas, a lot of people are like, turbocharged engines can't do that, blah, blah, blah. It depends on how you tune them, really, you know? And Hyundai, Kia, they promote a lot of their cars with regular gas. Give it a little bit of beans. You have so much fun power. This is a little bit better than Miata syndrome. It really is, because you've got a little bit more than enough power to have fun in this thing, but you get amazing results from it. You get that speed, not too much. You get that fun factor. And then on the economy side, this thing is rated at about 34, 35 miles a gallon on the interstate, which is fantastic, obviously. It really is. Downshifter is so easy in this car. Like rev matching, oh my goodness. This thing's a little go-kart. Like, this is a fun car. Wow, this is a fun car. Take a corner. No body roll. That's awesome. I can tell all the traction control systems are on right now, and I can tell with a little bit of spirited driving, traction control cuts power if you're trying to shift quickly. So just make note of that if you're ever doing spirited driving in a car like this, that the car will cut power if it needs to. So I think using the traction control system could help a little bit in that scenario, just being honest. I will make note, I don't see a drive mode button in here, which I just noticed actually. That's super interesting. I guess the point is that they really do want this to be a true driver's car. I'm a little impressed, but also surprised. I think the lack of a driver mode button in this car makes this so much better. It really does. This just gives you that fun factor that you really want. I mean, the seats hug you, you feel like you're in a race car, the gauges are super racy, and racy I mean like race car like. You know, the steering wheel, the fit and finish of it's so nice. Material quality, even though it's obviously plastic fantastic, it feels really well built. It's a solid machine. The sound of the engine's nice. It's not too, you know, fart can exhaust or anything like that. I mean, it sounds really good. It really does. And just the economy side, if you want this to be an economy car, you can have that all day long. So you get the best of literally all worlds. I mean, you're not going to win any top speed races in this thing, but if you take this to the track, I can imagine you could have some good fun in this thing. I really do imagine that. The clutch is easy, the transmission's easy, everything about this car is easy. You don't compromise anything. You really don't. That's so awesome. And then you got all the same safety features you'd imagine, blind spot detection. You've got the lane safety features. You know, I'd be curious to see if this thing's got the autonomous braking, just because manual transmission cars, etc., etc. Just food for thought. I think like when it cuts power like that, it can be a little bit annoying, but obviously that can be turned off, hopefully, with a traction control system. I had a 2015 Focus ST and it was identical to that. It would cut power on hard shifts, just whatever their spiel is. So this is awesome. Road noise is actually pretty quiet. Wow. So again, I do want to give a big thank you to Ed Voiles Hyundai Genesis here in Smyrna, Georgia. Big thank you to them. They're the ones that actually got me this Elantra N-Line. And I also do want to say a specific thank you to Reid and Keith, who's in management, because you guys have made this very, very great for me. I'm very appreciative for everything that you guys have done. So in saying that, if you guys are in the market for a new or pre-owned Hyundai, check the link below. That's going to show all their inventory, including this vehicle, if it still is in their inventory. This thing's probably going to sell pretty quick. And then on top of that, again, thank you guys for the support. If you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell in the upper right hand corner. That way you get alerts every time I release a video. And then outside of that, I will say, give it a thumbs up. So until next time, I'll see you guys. Thanks for watching this review.